Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, and sorry I forgot to schedule the stream, but it looks like you guys found it. Anyways, so these first few days here before the Thanksgiving holiday could be interesting. We had a lot of gamma expiring last week, and that could lead to a sort of an unclenching. So there are tons of people that were short in the treasuries, although I do think probably most of those guys got all washed out Thursday, Friday. But then over here in the S&P 500, you know, there's all this gamma that was expiring, and we were seeing, you know, some slightly bearish action, but we're still around 4,700. So we'll see. We might have a risk-off day here in the equities, and then we'll take it from there. But either way, I expect it to be fairly active today, relatively speaking, for a Monday. Let's just go and look at the charts here just to kind of review. Although I think I kind of already covered it, right? S&P 500. Struggled a little bit, came back, but ended at 4,700, which is pretty much exactly where we would expect based on the gamma. The treasuries, on the other hand, had a huge monster move up overnight off of COVID restrictions in Europe, but that has since stabilized back down to where we were, at least in the short term, on the 2s and 5s, 2 5s and 10s, but the 30s are still very much up there. And that means quite a bit of flattening, despite this. Yeah. Anyways, we were steepening, right? But now we are not steepening. Oil still down. I know. I mean, I keep seeing calls for $90 barrel oil, but for now, it's been back on growth concerns. Natural gas has been fine. The whole situation with Russia has kind of calmed down, although there is a lot going on the border with Belarus. You want to monitor that. Gold. So gold is taking a little move down here, bouncing off of some resistance. Silver is actually moving up. So they're kind of diverging here, which is a little weird. Then we got Kappa. Kappa was, kind of took a dip and then a little bounce back into the range late in the week, last week. Then we come over to the currencies here. And the dollar, I really think the big news over the past 2 weeks or so, the dollar just keeps going up, and now we are above 96. Like when it was 95 and it was 95 and a half, and I was like, wow, and now it's 96. What? And the big news is inflation, but the dollar gets stronger. Oh, okay. Bitcoin struggling last week, still down below 60K. We should expect to see a little bit of a decline in Bitcoin going into Black Friday. And by the way, I took a look at all the Black Friday ads, and they suck. They all suck. I did not see anything, did not see any good deals. So that is where we are at. So shall we go long bonds here? I don't know. See, the thing is that even though I know that we're likely to get some interesting action here because of the whole gamma expiring last week, that has very often led to dramatic moves over here in the treasuries, but doesn't necessarily tell us what's going to go on over here in the treasuries. And particularly that the 30-year continues to be elevated a little bit, kind of suggests to me that it might not be so simple. Yeah? So we're going to kind of have to just keep an eye on it. It has been, since the Treasury session has opened up. It has been relatively quiet, actually. So, with that moves around 18. Okay. I guess the other thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on is the whole... There was a vehicular attack. Was it yesterday? In Waukesha? Take the long and join. Well, I mean, I'm taking the long and I'm thinking long in the micro treasury at 1.58, but I'm still thinking we want to get back to 1.6. But like again, that's why I was saying, but the 30-year don't want to go along with it, so that might not be such the greatest trade. I guess we didn't really get to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing because that happened late Friday, right? Oh man. I know Uzi was thinking that the jury might acquit him. They did take a really long time, I must say. They did take a very long time, but they did come out that Kyle was innocent. And I really don't see how anyone takes a real objective reading of the case and not come to that conclusion. But there seems to be people in the media trying to push it to be a controversial thing, like almost trying to create division, I feel. And if this vehicular case in Wisconsin, Waukesha, Wisconsin, ends up being motivated by that verdict, I think that CNN is going to get some... your initial thoughts were guilty, really? So I kind of wonder, when I first saw it, remember, I think it was here on stream. I had kind of like ignored it, and then I watched the video, and it was like, well, that guy is running away. Despite the obviousness of the evidence, I don't know. Like I said, the thing that is really troubling about this whole situation to me is how many people in America don't understand basic law. Like, okay, if you're running away from somebody and they're chasing you and they're trying to grab your rifle, you can act in self-defense. And everybody thinking that you're not allowed to act in self-defense, or that the self-defense laws should be weakened or something, I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. But then they say, well, but he was provoking them. He shouldn't have been there in the first place. And no, that's wrong. He has every much a right to be there, and frankly, to open carry, as they did, as the protesters did. So, like, it really is a very clear case. Well, two things. One, people don't understand basic constitution. Well, not constitutional law, but just basic law. So I mean, this is going to be law like anywhere. And two, like, everybody's opinions is very, very much like your politics shouldn't be the determinant of where you come out on this issue. It should just be the law, right? I don't know. On a case that was made racial by the media. Well, okay, so it was racial though, right? Like, one cannot deny the racial undertones of the case, because even though it was a white kid and he shot white people, and as far as the law is concerned, this is 100% a case of self-defense. The protesters were protesting in favor of Black Lives Matter. So that's why it becomes a racial thing, because the media has been sitting there waiting for the opportunity to call out some mass shooter attacking black people to get people riled up. right? But like it hasn't happened. Although interestingly enough, the case with Arbery, Rittenhouse said he was pro BLM. That kind of sounds to me like the sort of PR move that you come and say once you get out to, you know. But it is. I mean, you say it's an extremely flimsy claim, but that is 100% why the media made it into a racial thing, because it happened during Black Lives Matters protests over the death of what's his name, right? Which this is where and I think it's important to point it out too, because when you realize that, when you put it in the context of what was going on there. This is the thing. Y'all already forgotten what was going on that night, right? A black man, we call him black, right? A black man was going into his car to reach for a knife, and the police shot him, and that was that was race, attacking a guy over race, supposedly. Okay, so like the whole thing that started it with was ridiculous. So then people go and protest, and then that happened, right? I already forgot it. You see how the media, it's like one little thing after another, and the media tries and plays it up, and CNN probably the most guilty here, right? They play it up because they want strife, because they make more money that way. They present it in a context that will get the most animus, because anger creates more engagement. What do you do about that? I always thought, well, in the long run, that shouldn't create more engagement, but I've since realized that is wrong. I don't see how you get beyond the fact that when people are angry about something, that creates more engagement in media. Well, there's a little bit of a move up there in the Treasury. I mean, they are kind of bumping up against a resistance point, so we'll see if they're able to make it through. But it may well be a buy the Treasuries kind of day, because again, if like we're getting an unclenching and all of these CTAs were short the Treasury, then if this is supposed to be like an unwinding of all those trades, then we would expect it to go up. I'm a little bit skeptical about how much of that would need to happen because of the big rise on Friday, right? Make more people lose faith in the justice system that way. But see, the thing that I think is really weird is that the Arbery case has not gotten nearly as much press, because that one, so the news in the Arbery case was that the judge has ruled that the law, the citizens arrest law that these guys were claiming to have been using, requires you to have seen the crime, is the ruling there. So based on that, I think you could say it's pretty clear that them withholding excuse me, them detaining him was definitely illegal. And then at that point, aren't you being kidnapped? Don't you have the right to defend yourself? And so they're going to be found guilty on something. I don't know exactly the way that the law comes out, but based on that ruling by the judge, and I don't know anything about that particular law, but I would say I don't see why judge would say something about the law was completely wrong, right? So yeah, that one, those guys are probably going to be found guilty, and I feel like that has a way better. I think you could make a much better case that it was driven by racism, because the whole thing is that they suspected the guy of committing crimes in the area, and it actually kind of sounds like, based on evidence that we found afterwards, that it probably was him. But the two guys that did the citizen arrest did not have any evidence. They were profiling him 100%. At least that's my impression of it. As driven by algorithms, I just. I mean, it's driven by algorithms, but it's like they do the same thing that I do here on YouTube, right? They're sitting there like, what is the best way to phrase this headline to get the most clicks? Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it other than make people aware, but that's kind of the freaky thing about it, is that even if everybody's aware of it, I think that people still end up falling into the trap because it's all based on average psychology, right? Okay, so Andrew Coffey won. Yeah, he won his self-defense. What was the name of the girlfriend again that died? That one was interesting too, because there again, he was involved in drugs, wasn't he? Like that one is kind of crazy because the cops were like, were doing the right thing going after him, but they didn't like give him proper warning or anything. So he gets to claim self-defense, and there again, it sounds like that was what the law was supposed to be. Oh, that one was a different case? What was the other case then? I remember there being a name because there were so many people mourning. Well, there's a lot of people on the death trying to make the name a big deal, but the Coffey name seems okay. This is stemming back to a SWAT raid in 2017, but similar situation though. Yeah, exactly. But you're right. They did. He won that one, and media didn't make a peep about it. But of course, this is because the Rittenhouse case. Breonna, I'm thinking, yes, that's exactly who I'm thinking about. Breonna Taylor. Yeah, you're right. Because I remember when they were talking about Breonna Taylor, and then they talked about the Coffey case, and they were saying it was like the same situation. Well, I mean, there's a reason that the Rittenhouse case was a bigger deal, right? I mean, that is one of the most dramatic videos that I think we'll ever see, right? I mean, come on. Kids gets chased down, acts in self-defense, tries to turn himself into the police, and then as he's trying to turn himself into the police, he gets attacked by a mob, and two other guys get shot. That's just like, and the whole thing that went through, and the kid stayed calm through it and did all of the right things and knew. I mean, he had taken like gun safety courses and everything, and knew what, he had the duty to retreat first and all of these other things. Like, come on, you're never going to get a video. I don't see how you get a video more crazy than that. That is the stuff of legends, my friend. That is like, those cowboy movies where guy takes out 6 men, sort of, It was like a modern day equivalent. You're never going to get something more. That's why that case is it got so popular. It's just that I don't understand how the media justify lying about the case so much, It's a complete nonsense that steers policy decisions and culture of an entire society. No big deal. Yeah. Okay. It kind of looked like for a minute there that maybe the treasuries were going to move up and push through, but for now they have backed off again. So I still see a treasury market that is relatively quiet. They could move. They could move before the S&P 500 opens based on some sort of a hedge that they're going to do for what's about to take place in the S&P 500. Maybe. So if that was our theory, I think that we would have to definitely go long treasuries, right? In fact, why not? I will YOLO on this one. On his sim account. Bitcoin is going straight to 100K. Well, I think that we're in a really interesting spot in Bitcoin. So here's a couple of things. Number one, we are having like all this options expiring and everything. That's not something that I've typically seen have at least lately had a really strong effect on Bitcoins, but it has definitely had an effect on the S&P 500. And ergo, maybe that's affecting Bitcoin. But if that's the case, things look really good after this week for the S&P 500. This is usually this period after Thanksgiving tends to be the best period for stocks, and so it could be a really good period for Bitcoin as well. Now, this time of years also tends to be bad for Bitcoin because people take profits. People take profits so that they can shop on Black Friday. So that might also be depressing Bitcoin sentiment. And then we've got the Mt. Gox thing. Now, the Mt. Gox thing is, I think, going to be more complicated than I originally anticipated, because we don't know how much Bitcoin they're going to be authorized to sell over this plan and everything. But it also sounds like that we'll get some information in the next week or two, but I don't think that that's going to tell us everything that we want to know, because I think what happens is that then they go and they say, okay, everybody that held Bitcoin at Mt. Gox, do you want us to give you the Bitcoin or do you want us to give you the dollars? And I'm sure that a lot of those guys are going to choose to get the Bitcoins, right? So that there's less selling. But then we won't find that out for like a year after that. So we might the sell in Bitcoin over Mt. Gox may not be an immediate thing, but we'll see. I mean, I think that it's all in the details, right? It's like a big risk event. It has the risk of creating a sell-off, but it may not, right? So how do you sort all of that out? I think it's in favor of where Bitcoin has been going lately. Man, as soon as I sold it, as soon as I bought it, they decided to take it. And the market maker decided to move it because it moved on hardly any contracts. The metaverse is real, says Jim Cramer on CNBC. December through January should be really good for altcoins. Yeah, that may be. The thing is if this were to continue through in the end of the year and keep rallying into March, that would be somewhat unusual, right? That wouldn't quite be in line with what they typically do. Because typically things tend to die at the end of the year and then, they pick up in spring. But a lot of that, I think, has to do with the Chinese New Year. And if the Chinese have banned Bitcoin, that shouldn't be as large of an impact anymore, right? You have to be careful not to look forward too much to the Christmas rally. Well, in equities, if we don't get a Christmas rally, that's going to be a really big deal and could be really icky, right? If we encounter when we get a bear market in December's, it's really nasty, right? Like that was what happened in 2018. Was we came in here and we're like, well, we tend to rally into the year end, and then we just got nothing but volatility because of the Federal Reserve policy they were concerned about, right? Like it was gross. It was gross trading that, and in this market, it could be real scary. So I think that it was JP Morgan that was putting a note out there where they were trying, their metric where they put a fundamental value on the S&P 500 that it's tracked fairly well up until the pandemic. They were saying that the fundamental value of the S&P 500 was like way back at 2,500, which is like, oh boy, right? That's pretty scary that moved that far down, considering that we're at 4706 now, right? That's pretty solid, almost 50% decline. That's going to be a bear market, right? You made so much money shorting tech in 2018. Yeah, I did pretty well in 2018 too, actually, but I found it difficult. I think I was trading more S&Ps at the time, and so the volatility was just like, kill me. Anyways, now, but that just kind of sets up what I think is the more interesting thing with Bitcoin, is if the market goes down, if the S&P 500 goes down, I think we would have to say it's because of inflation, right? It's because of inflation and federal money policy. Basically, that the money policy is going to be too hawkish, right? That's why we would sell in December. I don't see any other reason for it to happen. So in that case, you would expect, based on what Bitcoin proponents say that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. So then Bitcoin should continue to go up, right? But so far, Bitcoin has acted as a risk proxy and tracks the S&P 500 really well. So if we had a decline in December, I think that the most interesting question would be which way Bitcoin goes. Does Bitcoin go up or down? And that would, because if we had a decline in December and Bitcoin followed it, that would be a really huge crushing defeat, I think, for the fundamental arguments behind Bitcoin. And I think that that's most likely what would happen. Eric H. says, "Don't remind me of 2018." I wish that I had been able to take more advantage of after 2018, right? Early 2019. Yes, I wish. But at that time, I didn't really have the disposable income. That is the thing, like with Biden, especially the child tax credits and everything. So I've been trying to put it into 529s and everything. Otherwise, it's like, what are so like, let me put it this way. When I wouldn't say that I live paycheck to paycheck, but I pretty much have all of the money that comes in like earmarked for what it is that we want to do. And then the government comes in and gives you an extra 1K or whatever at a time. It's like, what are you supposed to do with it other than just put it in the market? Now for that money, I think it's easy because I can just put it in a 529 and you can put it in the S&P 500. I think that if I got even more and I felt like I needed to put it into my Fidelity account, that I would need to put that in the S&P 500 too, because I'm having a hard time finding the stocks. I've had some really good calls on stocks, but I've had some really bad calls on stocks too. And which sectors we want to go into going forward seems like really unclear right now, right? Like I kind of put myself into a higher interest rates kind of portfolio. But I think I made some mistakes. Like one of the things was Zillow, and some of my thinking there was that Zillow was kind of both a hedge and a benefit. Like if interest rates go up, then there's going to be less people buying housing, so that would be bad for Zillow. But if they didn't, then Zillow would do well. And overall, Zillow should still do well because they'll be growing like their consumer lending business and all this stuff. But then their stupid algorithm bought houses and was just an absolute effing disaster, right? Which was something I should have anticipated, but I obviously didn't do my research well enough on that particular point, right? So I got hammered on that one. So going forward, if I was going to put more money into the markets, where would I put it? I'm not sure. Consumer discretionary, maybe, but then is like consumer discretionary, they're like the most vulnerable to an inflation scare, right? I don't know. Materials is probably a good spot, but I already have some materials. Could probably put more into materials though. U.S. existing home. Yeah, we do have existing home sales today. What do we have the rest of the week? Let's go and take a look at that really quick while I'm thinking about it. I'm just going to get out of that one in the sim trade in the treasury because obviously that was dead wrong, right? Tuesday, flash manufacturing. Wednesday, preliminary GDP, core durable goods, unemployment claims. Yes, they move unemployment claims up because of the holiday Thursday, Friday. Gotcha. Lots of important details coming in Germany. It seems like that there's been more happenings with the Germany. Oh man, you know what? I probably shouldn't talk about this, but Jordan Peterson rather, was saying that he had spoken to a Canadian policymaker person in the health sector. And this guy basically told him that their COVID policy was basically being determined by what was most popular. And that was, you know, I think that's kind of the scariest thing to people that are concerned about vaccines and so forth, is that like, if we do a shutdown, we don't do a shutdown because that's scientifically the best decision for the country. No, it's because the politicians deem that it's popular enough that they can do it. Or same thing with vaccine mandates. Vaccine mandate, because well, first of all, like a mandate, like forcing people to get the vaccine or suffer the repercussions, especially on something that is still, you still can't get like the FDA approved version of the vaccine in the United States. Wow, that was a move. Look at that. So we just get some news here. White House is talking. Oh. Hold on. I think that, okay, U.S. White House nominates Powell for Fed chair and Brainerd for vice chair. Yes, this is... Okay, that is confirmed. That is why we moved. Fed, Powell will be renominated. I was not expecting that to come until tomorrow because they were saying, well, it was supposed to be in 4 days, but then they said that he would do it before he left on Tuesday, and now he chose to do it here this morning. So the S&P 500 actually actually rallied on that, which is not 100% what I would have expected, but hey. But rates definitely are going to lean a little bit more hawkish. Granted, both of them are relatively dovish on the board, right? So they waited for me to get out of my sim trade before they did that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, White House. China is expanding its capacity to develop weapons that can be fired from hypersonic missiles, reports the Wall Street Journal. What do you guys think about that? Do you have any thoughts on the hypersonic missiles? Because the thing that I thought was weird, or that I did not expect, was people started coming out in the U.S. military being like, how did the Chinese do this before us? And I'm almost like, because they've been working on it longer? I don't know. I thought they had been focused on it a longer than the U.S. Both Russia and China. But now people in the U.S. are talking like, well, we can't figure it out. How did they figure it out? That's a little scary. I saw a TikTok the other day. This guy claimed that China graduates more engineers every year than the U.S. has engineers in total. Can you believe that? That is insane. So that hawkish Clarinet commentary, nice parting gift, I suppose, says New Squawk. I gotcha. Here we go. That 30, we should have taken this in the 30 year, because the 30 year is going to get, well, I should temper what I'm going to say here a little bit. We are flattening. If the 30 year gets dragged down here to its lows, below 161, then things could accelerate, right? China number one. Okay, Uzi is short at 09. Oh, good. You got a good price, 09. Armand Xian says almost 2 billion in population. It's not surprising. Yeah, but they are very much push engineering more than the US, right? I do not see the cultural push in the United States for engineers. You know what I mean? It's like, it's still not cool or something. When it should be like, guys, if you want your kids to have a future, you should be encouraging them to be engineers, because that's where the money is. So in the 10 year, it looks like they're already kind of encountering the hole. It's going to be the 5 year is probably going to be the key driver. I am kind of wondering, now that Biden announced that, what the why it took so long and whatever. But the longer that it took, the more that we had to think that it was going to be Powell, right? So I'm still seeing it flatten. You see the 30 actually moved up there. You can kind of see, like, the volume is all sell, but they're not. You see they're holding. They actually ticked up there. You know what? This is kind of starting to behave like it's done at a couple of around a couple of key pieces of news lately, right? Where it just doesn't quite do what you'd expect it to, you know? Like you get the initial move, and then after that, they do the opposite all day. Well, this right here, all of this could just be liquidity hole, right? Vacuum being sucked back up. Biden still has 3 Fed seats to fill. That's true. The market is wrong again, typical. Well, that's in this case, it's whether they're right or wrong might not even be pertinent. It may just be short-term liquidity problems, right? So like here, the 30-year being up, that may just be because people are really putting on aggressive flatteners. Okay. The dollar is moving up here.
Whether you're building dynamic network models or forecasting real...
Shouldn't have clicked that over there. Live Action gave us a link and I clicked it in the OBS window, which is not the way to do it. Oh, it's the Dan Bongino. I didn't know that he had YouTube. Okay, there was a significant and aggressive sell with a large stack at 12.5. Okay, let's see here. POTUS, I'm confident that the Chair Powell and Dr. Brainerd's focus on keeping inflation low, prices stable, and delivering full employment will make our economy stronger than ever before. He's making the right choice here. And it's not just that he's making the right choice here, he's making it for the right reasons. That if he were to nominate Brainerd, there would be concern in the market over, the Federal Reserve ignoring price stability. And since their biggest problem right now is inflation, it's better to keep the current chair. But now Forex Live says Powell to make a hawkish pivot in 3, 2, 1, maybe. I mean, the Federal Reserve was already kind of making a hawkish pivot, were they not? News Squawk says the GIF lives on with the picture of Powell and the money printer. Oh, I have the dead date wrong. You're right. I don't know if the algorithms can care about that sort of thing, the date on a live stream. Think they'll get the 30 year to come with them this time? Man. So we should just know that the order flow in the spread is flattening with the 30 year quite dramatically. Like this is one of the strongest spread flows I think I've ever seen. Like they straight bought the 30 and sold the 10. Now, if they're able to drag the 30 below 161, we might see some fireworks, right? U.S. swaps market prices a full 25 basis point rate hike into the June Fed meeting, which I think is correct. It's interesting. One of the things that I noticed, because you don't typically see people on TikTok talk about Federal Reserve or interest rate policy, but there was a bunch of influencers talking about, basically saying if Boehner gets nominated, then the S&P 500 will go parabolic. But here Powell is nominated, and the market is up anyways. So is this a win-win? Was this a win-win? Was it that you couldn't lose in the S&P 500? Okay, Biden's going to talk about this at 1:20 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. What? CNN reports that the Waukesha driver who plowed into a parade was fleeing another crime scene and was not an act of terror. Okay. Jeez. Really? Yes. So you're fleeing and that's what you do? You see a big crowd and you're like, I'm just going to drive through them. Man, you gotta be dumb. That's one dumb guy if that's where... I mean, I'm not doubting the report, although it is CNN, but that's one dumb guy if that's what happened. Actually, I hope it's true. I hope it's true because maybe then we can get away from this toxic news environment we've had, right? Because if it was terrorism, then just makes everything so much worse, right? Interesting iceberg there at 11.5, eh? But this is a perfect example. Remember, we were talking about icebergs. You want to sell it? That spot right there at 11.5 would have been awesome, right? Because you would have gotten filled there, and it would be in line with, if you wanted to go short. Even made a tick so far. But we shall see. 10 years still hasn't broken through those big orders at 10.5, and the 30 year is still fighting to stay up there. Your price ticked, but it didn't stop you out. Yeah. Oh, you're right. It went right there.
Block sell.
Oh my. Oh my. Somebody just sold the whole thing. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Lots of selling at 10 there as well. And only, I wonder if they hadn't have block sold it, if more at 10.5 would have pulled or not. Yeah, it was all skill, Uzi. Was all skill. Forex Live tweet until we hear who will the vice chair for supervision be before declaring Elizabeth Warren the loser. So what exactly have the progressives actually gained out of being in the Democrat Party in the Biden area? Well, there's like, I mean, let's not be too dramatic. Just because Powell doesn't come out, if he ends up being like the final remaining Republican on the Federal Reserve Board at the end of Biden's tenure, I think that they've still made a pretty big change to the Federal Reserve, right? By the way, the liquidity ought be in the 10-year below us does not look so hot. And the 30-year did get below 161 even. Your target is 25. Yeah, I think that whole area. So 15 was, I can see here. Oh, you're saying 25. 25 is, oh, okay, I see that. But just like the lows, the previous lows here, especially in the 10-year, the 10-year on 17th, we were at 130.01.5. So that's quite a ways down here. But completely within reason, especially since if we come back to this volume profile, just remember one of our theories was that this move was it? No, which day was it? Sorry, I have to go back here. Was the 5th? Yes, 4th and 5th. Yeah, this move here on the 4th and 5th up was presumably because of the rumor that he had interviewed Brainerd. And then we had the inflation data, right? And then this was coronavirus panic. Okay, so the Treasury's made a pretty dramatic push there. 10.5 was, okay, yeah, like they're coming back a few ticks, but I mean, remember that 10.5 was where like a stop run of some sort started. So the 30-year hasn't gone as far, and so the 10-year yield hasn't gone as far either. Probably should have taken this in the 5, but that's okay. I must admit, my heart is beating pretty hard here. When I first said, oh, it kind of dropped down, I don't think I was really paying attention as well as I should be. Because I don't know if I would have gotten a better price, though. We can go back and look on the replay and see what kind of price I could have gotten. Which also reminds me, my video on large orders, we're not putting that out this week because of the holiday, but we'll do it next week. But probably we should include something about collisions, right? Now, I'm also wondering, is this today end up being similar to, excuse me, similar to the CPI day, where the 30-year fought it for a really, really long time, but then when they finally succumbed, the whole yield curve increased dramatically, you know? Because right now they're kind of acting like, nope, that's all we're going to give you. Yeah. And liquidity is still pretty light, so my oh my, 48.28 at 09.5. And Uzi took profits there. This is still really intense for me. I could have taken some sequential profits. Was kind of why I was saying all that. It was why I was thinking about it. It was like, well, if this is trend all day, I think that this is a possibility that it could trend all day. It's just the 30-year is flattening so much. See, oh, do I have that other window still open? See here. 5 years selling really, really hard. 10 years selling pretty hard. 30-year actually bought. 30-year actually bought on the news. They are all just flattening. How often do you place trades? Not very often. Maybe once or twice a day. One of the things about the treasuries is that they tend to trend very well. And they've definitely been doing that in this environment. You can like almost like pick a direction for the day and it'll just slowly churn that direction. You never know though. Sometimes, every once in a while, they will do like a full-on reversal in a location or situation that you just would never expect it. So, Janet Yellen, the steady leadership of Powell, and the Federal Reserve helped ensure our economy was able to recover from a once-in-a-generation health and economic crisis. I'm pleased our economy will continue to benefit from his stewardship and the expertise and experience of Lyle Baynard. Did she have a hand in keeping Powell there? And the three of them will all be there at the press conference at 1:20 p.m., says Financial Juice on Twitter. Still, S&P 500 still to open. All three of them took a little back pedal there. Dollar pretty choppy up here at the top after having such a massive rally at now at 96.4. Let's Well, look at the 5-year. There you go. They took 3 prices all at once there in the 5-year, man. Okay, now the 30-year seems to be falling in line with them on the downturn. It's not flattening as much. In fact, we might see some steepening here. Yeah, here was the hill on that story I was talking about. Space Force General were not as advanced as the Chinese or Russians with hypersonic missiles. That's a new low for the year, NZF. I think we could get there in the 10-year. But we'll see. One of the things that I wonder is, so the Fed funds rate, they're pricing in a rate increase in June or July, right? So where do we go from here? Because I'm not so sure that an increase in like March would be appropriate. Is it easy to get filled while trading micros? Not really. So if you put in a limit order, you're often going to get left behind. I think it tends to be a lot better to try and use the market order, because it's often the case that you hit into them with your one lot and all of the liquidity at that price pulls because of it. So you can totally, it makes you feel big and powerful is what it does. But yeah, it just kind of depends. You'll see the spots where you could get filled on the limit. So they had all dropped down about 3 ticks, and now it's flattening back out again. Okay, here comes the E-mini. Oh baby, this is gonna be interesting in the E-mini, right? Okay, so it's a pretty tepid on the open, but it does look like a buy so far. Well, pretty large amounts trading there in the 47.13 area in the S&P 500. Walmart is launching 3 full-time drone-up airport hubs for on-demand delivery operations. Maybe test up to find a... I don't know, man. I mean... the trend in the S&P 500 looks pretty strong, but the volume isn't like crazy, right? It seems to me like that the market is interpreting this news as bullish, so I'm not so sure that I would want to, if anything, there might be a ton of shares that they want to dump onto the market from all of the gamma, and the buyers are just going to buy into them, and everybody's going to be super happy. So they get they get that risk off their books without having to create a big sell. Plus, I mean, the market is kind of in an area where they could rally pretty good, just because past week has been kind of choppy, right? It seems like a chunky climb. Well, yeah. I mean, again, some pretty big amounts been trading. Actually, I mean, here are thousands and up in here 500s, but it's quite a bit of volume trading at each step. Now, as for the treasuries, it's unclear what they're going to do, because we're still getting this spread, and the 30-year really don't want to come. Maybe they flip. I don't know. You took a 4 points there. That's not a bad trade. I think that that's a good trade if you had taken that like right on the open. Yeah. So I had a thought the other day about this whole is inflation transitory sort of a thing. Isn't all inflation transitory? Like, when we get inflation, isn't that like the unusual thing that we're supposed to try and get rid of? And so from that theory, like when has there ever been, even in the 70s, when inflation was a thing, it was like, but then the Federal Reserve policy got in line with where it should have been, and then it fixed the problem, right? Can inflation ever be like a persistent 30-year thing? Quite a bit of trade going on now in the treasuries here. So I want to note that on the way up, there was some fairly large buys and takes at between 8.5 and 9.5. So it's coming back down below that now, or at least hanging out on the low of that is interesting. Okay, S&P 500 decided that was just a pullback, eh? Target says they will remain closed on Thanksgiving. Cool. There isn't anybody that's going to be open Thanksgiving night, are they? Because that's a very unpopular move. But they've been doing it a lot more lately. See, it's not. They're not able to. In fact, they kind of. They drove 2 ticks there. The whole curve did. I didn't see a move in any of the currencies on that. Gold is down, by the way. Oil is, I don't know, maybe trying to make a breakout on the upside. the way that moved really suggests to me a correlation, but I'm not seeing it. Because they all moved up. It wasn't. I don't think that the buying was that dramatic. It kind of just went, like the bids just kind of stacked. Oh man. Well, the ECB, one of the ECB board members is talking right now. He was saying that it's transitory. That could be part of what's going on here. Yeah, see, the robots are doing all sorts of wild stuff here on the inside. Like dramatic stacks and pulls and stuff. Oh, man. It's just a few too many twists and turns on this trade, I feel. Yeah? Come back to 09. I think we still have a possibility for some steepening to come back. Like, I feel like this flattener is overshot a little bit. I mean, the spread does kind of look poised to come back up. Biden made his decision on the Fed chair last week and told Brainerd and Powell on Friday about his decision. And Forex Live asks, what are the chances this didn't leak? Pretty low, yeah. Meanwhile, I see treasuries that are holding up here pretty well. I wished when we were back up at like 20 and 30, I had taken some profits, and then maybe I would add back down in here. There really aren't many settings to it, right? Oh, I would use the exchange spread, right? So I think right now, well, what do I have it as? I have it as ZN5 ZB2. But what you do is you go to the exchange traded spreads and you see what the ratios are. See the 5-year coming up a little bit harder. He says that's what you did. Okay. And the front leg is ZN, right? No, okay. He's just making sure I gotcha. So the environment that we're in right now in the 10-year maybe would be more appropriate for one ticker, huh? Because it's we're getting flow just all over the place. It's not just like a straight trend one direction like I thought it maybe would be based on this news. Look, iceberg at 10.5. I've heard you're a speculator. There you go. You know what's kind of funny is that in the beginning I was really more like scalper Seth. And as I've gone along, I've just realized more and more that speculation is probably a better way for retail traders to try and go. Just because trying to find technical inefficiencies is really, really hard. Statistical inefficiencies is really, really hard. But finding informational inefficiencies are everywhere. See that it's still kind of iceberging at 10.5. You think that both sides of this are going to trade like 5K? It's kind of what it looks like. And I ticked up there. Could stack at 11. I'm watching that 160, 105 in the ZBE. See that 747? Would have been much better. I had taken this trade over here in the real 10s instead of these 10s. I would have made way more. S&P 500 just keeps going. Should reset my DOM again. So being above 11.5 is kind of important because there was quite a bit of a fall through there, right? That's aggressive. See, I just kind of wonder here on all this. I mean, part of it is the spread, but another part of it is just in order for us the rates to go even higher, don't we have to start pricing in a rate increase before June? And so we just get something where, the downside in the treasuries are limited. Because it looks like I'm not going to get much out of this trade. If you're going to do if you're going to do a drill in the S&P 500, I would have it be at least 1 point, so 4 ticks. Trying to take 1 tick out of the ES is just a little silly. This is not very realistic. What rate of refresh do you have? Oh, that's a good question. I've gone back and forth on that, but I think that right now I'm using, 100 for update interval, and interval prints 20, which I think that's the defaults. So the 30-year looking a little more bearish than it was before now. And the E-mini just keeps going. What did you... I never really did anything before Jigsaw, to be honest with you. I mean, I used Thinkorswim back in its heyday. I used TradingView, and that was a brand new application. But ever since I've been trading futures, I went right. I knew I had done my research. I knew what I wanted, and I've been in Jigsaw from the start. Although you got to realize when I first started this, like, Jigsaw was the only game in town for this sort of a thing. It's a little different now, but my setup has changed over the years for sure. Didn't really have micros up, for instance. Didn't have, and that's a lot of screen room. And you used to have a lot more stuff for tapes. He's been doing the jig since the beginning. I mean, when I started, it was basically Jigsaw or Trading Technologies, and Trading Technologies was like crazy expensive. They didn't have the monthly thing that they do now. Or if they did, I didn't know about it. Jack, well, CBX says he could have stopped his car anytime he didn't. Yeah, so this is gonna be weird. TT is for God's ears. Well, so there's two versions of TT, and the base version of TT is like okay, and then the better version of TT gives you auto spreader, and auto spreader is nice. Okay, what are your thoughts on the footprint to see the order flow? I think that it can be a useful tool to track order flow on a higher time frame. There can be things that happen on a smaller time frame that you're not going to see on the footprint chart and might be deceptive on a footprint chart. I've had a very difficult time using any kind of the stats on, what you would consider a footprint chart to find a statistical inefficiency in the market. So, well, I have the micros pulled up because I'm placing my trades in the micros, right? So I was complaining that, would have done better if I had just taken it in the full treasury. Anyways, the whole thing kind of comes back to that. The bigger suggestion that I have is that the market is more statistically efficient than it is informationally efficient. So it's a lot easier to find edge through informational inefficiencies, essentially, which would be like the news and, something just happened. So like with Powell just happening, and here's a place where I don't necessarily have edge, but with the whole Powell thing, does that, does that give the rates that we have, like what should they actually go to? The market's not very good at pricing that, right? Whereas this whole thing of like when you get this much volume on this side and this much volume at this side, and then you want to go and you want to buy it, and that sort of is set up on a footprint chart. You can find them, and it's certainly if you're doing order flow, you got a better chance of finding something. But the market is pretty efficient in that way, because there's all these robots trying to arbitrage those edges out. And there's not a whole lot of edge in it to begin with. And there's all of these other things that go on that end up moving things way further than any of that does anyways. So I don't understand should I consider myself a professional trader? I consider myself more of a hobbyist, to be honest with you. Did you see when I first took this? I was sweating pretty hard, and then I missed where I really should have taken profits. Like I missed it pretty bad. Sucks. And we are going to get some news here in a second. Okay. So the home sales changes are all good. Existing home sales spot 8 versus an expected negative 1 spot 8, and existing home sales 1 spot 34 versus an expected 6 spot 2. Just assumed you're a high roller trader. Huh? I think the assumption is always, well, he's streaming on YouTube. That must mean that he thinks he's the shit and he's making millions of dollars. And nah, listen, if I was making millions of dollars doing this, I don't know if I would stream it the same way anymore. So I wouldn't want you to be able to follow my trades. No, it's a hobby. And then you really got to think about that as a retail trader, because there's a lot of things working against you. There's a lot of things working against you as a retail trader. And so, hey, listen, like, I don't want you to like lower your sights or be, like trying to discourage people, but I also want people to be realistic, right? And what most people do is they come in and they say, well, I want to do this for a living. And well, there's some things that make that difficult, right? Because trading profits aren't really very consistent. So going back to this, the market is more statistically efficient than it is informationally efficient, right? If you are trading a strategy that is taking advantage of a technical inefficiency, then it should be relatively consistent, right? There will be periods where it doesn't work, but the overall expectancy of the system should be good. And if you really got a good system, like you're really, what is the word? Like scalping is, say it's a scalping trade, right? You should be able to come out with a consistent profit every day, right? But if our edge is really derived more from informational edges, and I think a lot more people are deriving their edge from that than realize it, then it's not going to be as consistent, is it? Because the distribution of information in markets is not Gaussian. It's very clustered. It's clustered, right? And we know that there are clustering effects. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to live on it, doesn't it? In order for you to live on it, you need to have already had, a couple $1 million tucked away to live on in case, you're not doing so hot that year, right? Like with the way that I trade, you really have to ask, can I have a losing year? Can I afford to have a losing year? If I'm going to live on this, can I have a losing year? Most people can't. Most people can't have a losing year and still live off of it. And so here again, they're shooting for something that's unrealistic. So for me to come in here and stream for you guys, it's kind of like, look, let's do something that's a little bit more realistic and teach you things that we can prove our edges. And so, because I can't guarantee you that you're going to make money. I don't always make money. Sometimes I lose money. Sometimes I lose money. Did I just say I sometimes lose money and then sometimes I lose money? But, it's a hobby. I think that's way more responsible. Yeah. I don't know if that's probably not confidence inspiring. Most people want to go and say, I want to go and find the guy that's making millions of dollars and copy what he's doing, right? But there's problems with doing that. Like if he's already made a ton of money from it, like that kind of suggests that there might not be more money left in it. Or why would he be sharing it with you? And if he's sharing it and everybody's doing it, then that's definitely going to make there be less money in it. So you have a day job? Yeah, I have a day job. And that's another thing, is that so many people want to pick up day trading when they're like down. You know, they just lost a job. They're tired of their current job. They want to break away. They want to break free, right? I don't think that trading is the way to go for that. No, like you need a new job, become a coder, go to a code camp, start programming. That's where the easy money is, man. Oh, the money is so much easier in that space. Okay. No, the futures are for people that already have more money than they know what to do with, and they have the ability to take risks, right? Now, I don't have the ability to take huge risks. I can't come in and lose $1,000 in a day and be okay with it. You can see I get stressed out even about small trades, because to me, it's not even the amount that's in there. It's just the overall performance and trying to do your best at it. And I still get incredibly nervous around key points like today, right? I got super nervous. I really should have taken some profits when we were up at like 1.61. Like I really regret doing that. And then when it come back, that just makes me feel so awful. Whew. Amygdala hijack. Yeah, and I think that so if I get my blood drawn and they don't do a very good job, like it doesn't come out quickly enough, then I have a tendency to pass out. When my son was born, they cut her open and they had me holding her leg and they cut her open and I passed out from that. So like my what do they call it? It's not your amygdala, but there's a nerve in the back there. It's really sensitive, right? And I think that it will take time for me to kind of control. Like I learned to control it with one. Now, like I put 2 contracts on, and then I start to get nervous again. I actually have been making money from it though. Man, like the thing that I find frustrating is if I was on the micros, I'm making a little bit after costs. Yeah, your valgus nerve. Yeah, I have a really sensitive valgus nerve apparently. Anyways, on micros, I'm kind of like just barely making money. But if I had been trading the 10-year, if I had been trading the full treasury, I'd be making bank. Like I would have like doubled or tripled my account by now. So it's a little frustrating in that respect. So these moves, the 10-year has been moving more than the than the actual micro 10 because this is actually a 7-year, right? And then the costs and everything. Because over here on this one, you know, if I make 1 tick, 2 ticks, that's still just break even. Where over here I make 1 tick, 2 ticks, it's still a profit. And a decent one at that. Would you say that becoming a great programmer is easier than becoming a profitable? Yes, 100%. 100%. No question about that one. Now, maybe becoming the best programmer, and like that's the thing that's crazy, is that in order to become a truly what normal people, this is the thing, is I really feel like that people's definition of a profitable trader is kind of silly. You get all these people on Reddit. Oh, I've been trading for the past year and I've been making money. Well, okay. That means that you're really in line with this market and that you're probably lucky, but that doesn't mean that you can make money next year, right? Now, if you've been doing it for 5 years and you've made money all 5 of those years, then you're definitely a profitable trader, right? But then that's like a really high, you know, that's a really high standard. That's only like a few dozen people that have done day trading to maybe actually fit that standard. You know, a few dozen people over the past 5 years that have picked up day trading in the past 5 years and are retail traders. There's probably only a few dozen of them that have been profitable 5 years out of, 5 years in a row like that. Right. So is that like a realistic goal for you? I mean, that's where you would want to get to for sure. But that's kind of like me saying I want to become the best player in the NBA. Like, it's not going to happen, right? There's no way that I'm going to become a top player there's no way that I'm even going to get into the NBA. I'm too short. I'm regular size. I'm not athletic like that, right? What is it that you have that's going to get you into that level of thing? Especially when the one of the big keys here is having a lot of money to be able to risk in the first place, right? So do you have a lot of money to be able to risk in the first place? You get where it gets kind of iffy. Yeah. So Javelle says, I think people trade micros to test stress. Well, that's certainly not the case in the micro ES. In the micro ES, it's starting to get to the point where the micro ES is just going to straight up be more popular because the regular ES contract with the amount that the S&P 500 moves now is too much risk for most people. Wasn't always that case, but as the instrument gets bigger, at some point, do you think at some point they might change the tick size of it? Do you think that at some point they'll just go to you can only trade points and you can't trade quarters of a point in the S&P 500? It may happen someday. I think we'd have to be quite a bit higher than we are now, but I think it might happen someday. Because otherwise, you're going to have to make like nano treasuries. Gary, how are you? Welcome back. It's you know what? I was actually thinking about you the other day, Gary, but I'm happy to see you. Let's just say 2 ticks EVS is a bit. Yeah, if you can get 2 ticks like regularly, I can't do that. Oh man, I've had such a hard time with ES as of late, to be honest with you. It's been very difficult. But I think one of the problems that I have over in ES is like I'm not really watching the tempo of it and everything. And so I'm just getting in at a random spot and they just stop you out every time. You get that thing, like sometimes when you're in the right direction, it takes longer. Like if you're in the right direction, they tend to move like this. Slow up and then quick down. Slow up and quick down. And so you're going to get in somewhere up in here, right? And then it's going to go down and you're like, oh, I screwed it up. You know? How is the old and new gang? We're doing okay. You know, I've been doing well because there's been volatility in the treasuries. And over the last 9 months, I think that we've made pretty big strides in terms of understanding the market and where we have edge and what sort of things we can take advantage of. So from that perspective, we're doing good. From some other perspectives, I feel like we're struggling. Like, I think I'll work on footprint and seeing imbalance zones. Yeah. Well, so Jiffo, on the footprint thing, like I was saying, it's hard to find like a statistical edge, even if you're using order flow, right? But that doesn't mean that information is useless, right? It becomes more base. And so that's kind of where like I really think you can read the DOM, you can read the footprint. I think that the DOM is ultimately more useful, but learning to read the footprint is valuable. I just think that you probably need more things on top of that. I'm not a scalper. I speculate bull bear exhaustion to mean reversion back to the point of control or VWAP. That's the way that I started, Andrew. Actually, you know what? I was actually kind of the opposite in some respects, because I really like to take the across of it. I would be like, oh yeah, this is bullish. They're gonna go across it and then catch really long runners. I think that was kind of what screwed me up, was that I went and I did the back testing and I found that you actually make more money from fighting the VWAP than you do from going in line with it. Does it make sense? Like, you've got some big move that went up like this, right? And then here's the cross of the VWAP, right? Well, okay, so if it was a strong trend, you should expect when they come to the VWAP to bounce, right? And it's like the amount of times that when they touch the VWAP that they bounce off of it there's a real statistical inefficiency there of sorts. I would say it is a risk adjusted one, but there is a real aberration there in the stats. But that's why I say it's risk adjusted, is most of the time it will bounce, but when it doesn't, it really goes. And so this one over here, you'll actually lose more money than you make. But if you always take it when it goes through, or you can predict situations where it's going to go through, you end up making more. And so I was always doing that. But the problem with that one is that you'll have like dry periods. Like, you have periods where it just doesn't work for a really, really long time. You know? Anyways, those things, some things that we're struggling on. I feel like lately, like on this trade, I might have been able to have clicked in a little bit faster. So that was kind of frustrating. I think that, like, in terms of how we function and how we run the room, like needs to change and improve, but I'm not sure how to do it, because I feel like I think that we've always just kind of been like, hold on, you're talking about there's some OPEC news. I feel like that we've been pretty like relaxed, like people come in and whatever, and so especially on the Discord, you know, will come in and they'll be doing like the exact opposite of what I do or whatever the deal is. And it's like, I had this guy come in the other day and he didn't know anything. I have to say, it was kind of funny the way that he was talking when he literally knew anything. I was like, dude, you should realize that pretty much everybody here knows more about this than you do, and you should behave appropriately according to that, you know. But he was just like talking like, you seem like a winner and all this sort of stuff. I was like, dude, cut the that's for the bankers, you know, not the retail traders, okay? Bankers, they talk like that. Anyways, And so I don't want to have a system that's like regimented or anything. Like, I don't think I want a system that's like what Futures Trader 71 has, where everybody pays a subscription fee and we've got like a whole setup about how to trade and everything. But I do feel like that we could get more out of this community, that we could be more serious. We could be doing more serious research, you know? People need a couple of years to understand that there's no other way than having stops. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Like one of the things that I've been struggling with is that the biggest part of the stream is the stream. You know, the biggest part of the channel is the stream. And the way that the YouTube algorithm is working right now, we aren't really growing organically all that much by streaming. They made a change at the beginning of this year that kind of throttled all of the streams, unfortunately. I'm not sure why they did that, and I'm sure that they'll change it at some point because they're really working hard to make the streams better, creating new features and stuff. But, you know, so we had to go to making videos, but I haven't been making very good videos this year. I went through a period where it was really, really hard to make videos, right? So what I kind of moved to was I needed to make more beginner videos. I needed to make more videos about what is the DOM and how do we read it. And then we're going to make videos about, why our market, what does it mean that markets are more statistically efficient than they are informationally efficient? What is price and elasticity? And we can get those videos out, and I think that should help a lot. And then we can get people into, okay, these are like the videos to start with. This is what you need to understand about our philosophy of trading and what you're trying to do, so that we can target it better, And then when we get there, we can kind of organize the Discord a little bit better. I can work harder to get you guys that are here on YouTube to get into the Discord chat, and we can have more discussions about fundamentals or predictors of future order flow, let's say, in the Discord. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the way that we're doing right things right now are fine. I think this had kind of come up because Ace didn't want to tell us if he was making money or not. He was saying, well, I'm not making any claims. And I just kind of felt like we don't want to be a room where we call out trades, but I think that sometimes we do that, and I don't feel like that people are getting as much out of this stream as they could. I think like when I look at the information that I provide compared to what I see like other influencers on TikTok, for instance, I'm like, man, I provide so much more information than most of these guys, because most of what you see on TikTok is like the most basic of information, right? But it's not everything that we could get from it, right? I think part of the problem is that I don't think that I'm getting as much out of it as I probably could. Like, we've gotten into, I'm working on it. Today was an okay step in the right direction. Clearly, I didn't pass the test, but I got a little better there. I need to get more comfortable taking big risks is the thing. Like we have a system that I think clearly works. We need to start taking risks with it to really build it up. And then maybe when I feel more confident on that, then maybe I'll be able to turn around and help you guys get more from it too. You know, I wouldn't say that. Something changed. I don't know. This is like with Gary. Is like Gary is a pretty smart cookie. He's told us some stuff that was really useful, but he trades options. You know, like I should join Theta Gang and have Gary teach me how to trade Theta. I think I could probably make a good chunk of money doing that, you know? But when we're speculating and we're trading micro treasuries, you know, it's not a very good fit. It's not a very good fit. And I think that the reality with Ace is that with the way that he trades and with his kind of his personality, it's not a very good fit with me. You know, he's a little bit avoidant and I'm a little bit anxious. If he ever did make money from trading, I think it's mostly from taking on risk. It probably fits more in with Futures Trader 71 than with the way that I trade, you know? Yeah, so I think I should defend Ace here. Yeah. Oh, and there he is. Look, I don't think that Ace ever lied to us, okay? I don't think that Ace ever lied to us. I'm frustrated because I feel like that he actually could say some things that would be useful to people, and he just doesn't want to do that. That comparison with other less informative content creators involves dopamine addiction, short attention spans. Yeah. Well, so the thing is that for me to give somebody something that's like really true, like really groundbreakingly useful, it's kind of hard. You have to have a certain amount of knowledge, and so the audience for me to give those things to is smaller. I've gotten better at attracting that audience by doing test videos on TikTok and kind of figuring out the sorts of things to say to grab people's attention, but you still kind of have to grab at a certain, you know, I'm always sitting there saying, okay, I need to give them the key thing that's really, like today we can talk about now the new Federal Reserve and what the curve did and what it might mean, because a lot of people thought that it was going to be Brainerd, and it was the E-mini was going to go parabolic, but instead it was Powell, and they still really liked it. So I think that there's a lot of information that we could provide them on that, right? But during the week, probably we need to just do like more basic things that will attract a larger audience. No, he's not stalking us. I wouldn't have blamed it, like, with the way that things were going on Friday, I wouldn't have been surprised if Ace like just disappeared and didn't come back. But I appreciate that he comes back. It's kind of funny. Like, you understand, Ace, that I am like anxious, that I have like this anxious attachment, man. It's so freaking weird. Yeah, you know, like I don't like to talk about it because it's kind of, it makes you appear weak, right? Sometimes you have to admit your weaknesses to everybody. When you screw up, I have to say, like, if I hear on this stream, and I see other people do it, by the way, when I made mistakes on stream, I tried to hide it, and when you guys ask me about it, I lie about it. I wouldn't have learned anything. In fact, I've come to learn that the one thing that will hold you back from becoming a good trader the most is making money right at the beginning, man. When you're making money, your tendency is to just want to try and continue doing what you were doing. It's not until it stops working that you turn around and you say, I need to learn more. I need to go more in depth on this. What else can we learn? How can we get better at this, right? And the longer it takes you to get there, the more you learn along the way. And hopefully those things that you learn are really valuable. I think that for me, I kind of came back to, there was a certain point, there was this certain key insight that the markets are more statistically efficient than they are informationally efficient. That was kind of like the, oh wow, this is the thing that I think everybody really needs to learn, and there would be a lot more successful retail traders if they did. Anyways, you got to admit your failures, right? So my wife, she works. Oh no, it wasn't. She wasn't working. Oh, that's what it was. The girls, they did a play. They were in a play, and we had tickets for both Friday and Saturday. So on Friday we went and we had the baby with us, and that was just like a total pain in the butt because he just wants to get up and go the whole time. So on Saturday, you know, we decided I would stay home and watch the baby, and she would go to the play. So the play starts at like 7:00, and it's like not even an hour play. This is a short play because I mean they're little kids, right? They're like not even 12, and it's like 9:30, and I'm like, what's going on? And in my head, see, I think I don't actually know what a normal person thinks. But I think that a normal person just goes, oh, it's okay. If there's a problem, they'll call me or whatever. But I'm thinking something's wrong. Did she die? It's 9:30? Do I need to call her and figure out what's going on? You know. But I'm smart enough now to go, oh, okay. But I'm anxious, so I don't need to do anything. Well, he says if you want to reach out to me, it's just I love Ace. I absolutely do love you, brother. But I also kind of feel like that if we were dating, that we would need to break up. You get what I mean? It's not your fault. It's mine. No. It's just not. It just doesn't seem like a very good emotional match, does it? Let's see here. Gary says, watch the 2 and 10-year spread and the 2 and 5-year spread. The 2-year bid up, basically signaling a 50 basis point hike in the future. Yeah. Well, so tell me though, Gary, what do you think about this, that the 30-year just fighting it so hard? Every step along the way of this, the 30-year tries to flatten whenever we're moving. And here this morning with Powell, it flattened really aggressively. You know, I think that this is one of only 2 times that I've ever seen where the 30 years went up and the 10-year went down. And it wasn't like, normally it's like they'll go up together, but this one kind of goes up more, and then they'll go down together, but this one goes down more. No, this one straight went up and this one straight went down. I've only seen that one other time. And then there was one time other than that where the 30-year moved and the rest of them didn't. Just ignore Eric Ages, dude. He's just trolling you. He's just trolling you. Here's what I want you to do, Ace. Do the thing that is the most beneficial for the community. I think it's right to not make claims. That's you get yourself into problems when you make claims. I think that's right. I don't think that you were dishonest with us. I'm just I also kind of wonder if maybe there's some things that you could say that would be really beneficial to people, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overthinking it, you know? But do whatever you think is the best for the community that helps them and helps make other people better at trading and helps make you better at trading and helps make me better at trading, and that's the real goal here, right? No, I don't care if it doesn't matter to me if people, you don't lie to people, but nobody is forced to have to be making money or whatever. It's tough. I thought the best benefit. Okay, so you have to go. You have to go soon because I want to. I think you know what my opinion on that is, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with making actionable calls, but I think that it's more important to help people understand why we might be making those calls, and if we do, and if they are profitable strategies, where did those profits derive from? Yeah, walking out now. Hey, have a good one, Ace. We love you. Andrew, you only trade crude? Well, Gary trades crude. I have to, it's been a while, Gary. I actually didn't think you'd ever come back. And I was really disappointed when you disappeared that one day, even though I was really mad. But you guys know I'm like an asshole about these things sometimes, I think. Like I don't know how to make a stand on an issue and like not be an asshole at the same time, You be nice to Ace here, Cages, please. He's not trying to be deceptive or anything. And he has made a lot of really good consistent calls, right? Do you all show over? No. So the way that we've always done it is if in Discord, and this kind of died out, to be honest, but in Discord it was like if you showed me a certain amount, so it was like if you showed me 1 month of profitable trading, then we would give you a special little flare. I haven't really done a whole lot with it lately because people thought that the people with the flare were moderators or something, and which is kind of funny. But I'm totally okay with showing how I've been doing. I have to pull it over here to the side because I'm trying to avoid showing any personal information here. So I just want to show you the 10-year trades because those have been the only live ones. And we'll try and go back to, what was it? I think it was the beginning of August, right? Beginning of August until now, the 22nd. Yeah. So you can see here's how I've performed with it. So I don't think I completely had things figured out in here, but this series of losses here was all trying to take a steepener trade when we've continued flattening. So you can see here where if I had been up, it would have been a lot better. There's also something else is wrong because maybe it was still that loss. I was gonna say, so from these past what? So 9, 10, 11. So these past 3 months, I basically made a little bit more than the commissions, right? Than the costs, because the costs are basically like 50. So, and look, I made 150. So it was a little bit. Yep, the 50. Oh, actually, I'm not counting the. I don't think I'm making costs when I count in the Jigsaw license. I have to go look. I'm just talking about the exchange fees. This I don't think factors in the where is it? I don't think it does the commissions on this one. Yeah, this is the commissions on this one, so you got to factor that in. When you look at it, it's kind of interesting because my man, when I started, like my MAE was 5 and my MFE was like 15. But as of late, I've been taking a lot smaller trades. So I'm using CQG. Anyways, the point here is I'm not always super great, but I've been doing okay the last 3 months on micros. And if we size up, we probably could start making more, and I certainly have the margin to do it. I just it makes me nervous. I don't think emotionally I'm there. I need to build up. I need to build it up. I need to build up to it. Now, when you add everything in there, when you do all instruments, then you get a very different picture, and it's like, wow, Seth, you're amazing at some of these points. Yeah. $4,000, but some of those are trades that are silly. Some of those are trades where like I really, really sized up much larger than I actually had in the account. And this is not realistic, but sim trading. Well, there's the thing, they say like, you can't trust the results from sim trading. Well, presumably, if you're only trading a few contracts and you had a good sim, you're making all of the same trades that you could have made in real life, right? So if you had taken those exact same entries, assuming that you had the emotional capacity to do so, you should have made $4,500, right? But why would you have not have made $4,500? Because on sim, I'm allowed to take on a lot of risk, right? You're able to take on a lot of risk. That's the thing. That's the thing that makes a big difference, right? Oh, the MAE isn't actually that bad. But where's my largest losing trade? Yeah. Okay. Like $1,000 on one trade, that's pretty awful. Right. I wouldn't be able to do that with my live account. But the point of that, the more risk you're able to take on, the higher your probability of success is. And I'm only trading the futures here. I have taken some trades in stocks. I'm actually up really good for stocks this year, despite making some really awful decisions in places. It's really just Zillow. Being in Zillow, I when I got in there, I was like, well, it looks like it's a fair price. I think that their future still looks really good. But I was concerned that a lot of Wall Street owned it. And no, Kaka, that was like if you added all the sim trades in there. The live trades has only been, I lost about 150 and then I've made it that back up and I'm up 50. So like up 200 from the low of the portfolio. So up 200 on micro treasuries in the past 3 months. It's not bad. You know what, Andrew? I preferred Rhythmic, but NinjaTrader, the way that they're set up, if you are using NinjaTrader as your FCM, you can't use Rhythmic. I've thought about moving, but we might be getting into some machine learning stuff here soon. Anyways, the question was do y'all show your verification of your profits? No, only me. But I want to be 100% transparent with you guys about what I'm doing. I might not do it in the moment because I don't necessarily want you to know what my positions are and follow my positions. But you know, in the long run, I'm going to show you what I did. If I made a mistake, I'm going to admit it to you, and I'm not just going to try and hide it. Sometimes I don't want to talk about it in the moment, but why don't you trade Bitcoin? Well, I have been doing Bitcoin. So I didn't get in on this run. I was planning on getting in on this run, and first of all, the way that Bitcoin acted after the pandemic was quite silly, right? But my strategy has basically been saying that it's been overbought this whole time. So, and I really do believe that the Bitcoin market is being manipulated right now. I think that Bitfinex and Tether are basically rigging the Bitcoin market to create outsized gains. And that at some point it is going to fall hard. And I don't know how long that's going to last because it seems like regulators will have to step in and do something. And they actually kind of already have. But the way that they've done it has basically been like, oh, no, you're not allowed to do that. Now pay the fine and clean up. And then they just keep doing what they're doing. So I haven't been serious into the Bitcoin market because of that, but I have done from time to time some altcoin stuff. I've avoided all of the the whole Shiba nonsense. You know, I avoided that crap. But I've made like $1,000. was actually at the height of this cycle. I was actually up like more than I should say. But I digress from the altcoins and stuff, but not into Bitcoin proper. Maybe next cycle. And I'm still on the lookout for shorts. I had this short that I would argue with Gary with all the time on MSTR, and you know what? I totally had it. Like I absolutely nailed the whole trade. I just was off by like a week or two. So I don't know how to make that trade with the time decay, man. It's too hard. It's too hard to do it with the options like that. I wouldn't mind doing some theta trades and options, but I don't have enough. I don't think I have enough over there to do that. If stuff goes wrong in the world, I feel bad for people. Yeah, totally. Like, dude, think about it. Think about it. Just think about Bitcoin for a second. Like, what happens if the Bitcoin market has another 90% decline? There are so many millennials with their money in the Bitcoin market, right? What kind of societal impacts will it have if all of that money just disappears? You know, that's going to have a really significant cultural impact. That it's going to affect the way that they invest the rest of their lives after that, you know? And it's a little scary to think about if they lose all that money. Realize you have a times and sales under your chart screen. Oh, you're talking about this one right here? This is not exactly a times and sales. So if you go to speculatorseth.com, it's linked in the video description. I have these indicators for NinjaTrader 8 that you can download and try for 2 weeks. And then after that, it's a $10 subscription to the channel. You click the join button down below and we update it every month. And this is probably the most unique and I think useful thing in the package is the market depth tape. And what it does is it is a tape for limit orders instead of market orders, right? So when a large order stacks or pulls, it makes a little tick sound and it shows me here. That's why there's 4 different colors, right? Because the cyan is a buy adding, and the blue is a bid pulling, and the orange is an offer adding, and the red is an offer pulling. Yeah. And I have it set up in the S&P 500 to track 150 lots is basically the gist of it. You come into the properties and it will only show within 24 ticks. You can limit how far away they are, which can also be useful. So that's what that is. People keep asking me if I can make it available for just like a one-time fee, which I can. I haven't. I don't know. We wanted the whole thing to create some consistent income for investigating some other things, but it just hasn't been working out. I'm not that I push it very much. I guess I should be pushing it more, but we gotta make a change there. It was about market by order data, right? I kind of feel like we're going in a different direction now, though, right? We're talking much more about informational inefficiencies. Market by order data isn't as interesting to me anymore. Should we just make it? I don't know. Tell me how much would you guys? There's some things that I need to add into it too. There's some things that I've made that I haven't put into it. So I need to go and update all that stuff. Well, the 10 years come back. The 30 years just barely budging, man. This is pretty crazy. And you have I do. So there is a video on this channel where I go into everything that's in it in quite a bit of detail. It's a really boring video. Uh, the problem that I have with my indicators is that explaining to other people what they actually do has been very difficult. I remember 2019, I think, when Bitcoin was almost 3K, people gone from saying Bitcoin will hit to real panic. Do you think this will repeat? I think that the Bitcoin market is long overdue for a real crash, and that when it happens, it'll be pretty ugly. At this point, so the thing is that the 2017 crash happened because of the Mt. Gox whale. Now, apparently, the Mt. Gox whale might be selling more starting the end of this month, but we don't really know how much it's going to be. I have some reason to think that it might not be such a big deal. And if that doesn't happen, then, and we're going off the theory that Bitfinex and Tether are manipulating the price, and it's not going to stop until the regulators come in and stop them, then that means that when it does finally break, that it will be an event like the Mt. Gox decline, right? It will be a catastrophic, the whole world's on fire, everything falls at once sort of a move if Tether goes under. But when that's going to happen, I don't know. Can you do 15? I think it'd have to be more than 15. So I think that what the fair price would be like 100, 150. The whole world's on fire. Yeah, well, and that's another thing, is that it may be the case that when Bitcoin falls, it may fall because something elsewhere is happening, like the larger stock market is having a panic. Might happen, you know? By the way, we're getting a little steepening here. The 30-year ticked down there and the 10-year didn't. I'm asking because I also trade on NinjaTrader and use the standard times and sells just what the... Yeah. Well, Lucas, what it's most useful for is when you're watching the DOM and a large order stacks or pulls, and sometimes you don't notice it. So that will make a little sound, and then for sure you see it. So I'm not showing you anything that you can't necessarily see just from watching the DOM. It's just that you don't notice it. Whereas this will tell you, this changed all at once. Typically, that means that it was one order adding or canceling. But that will be insane, but amazing timing shorting even. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the problem. I mean, if it happens, I would go out and just buy puts on MSTR is what I would do. But until then, it could be years for all we know, man. Though with the speed that the regulators have been going at, could be years, man. And I have to say, given the way that things went out today, because, you know, there was a lot of gamma came off last week. So we were expecting them to have a lot of stocks to sell today. Right? This sets them up really well for going into the end of the year, don't you think? Like the scenario where December doesn't happen seems a lot less likely now, doesn't it? Is NinjaTrader time? No, it's not. Oh man, the NinjaTrader times and sells isn't very useful. It's not very useful at all. There are reconstructed tapes just for NinjaTrader 8 out there. I don't know where you get them from, but they are out there. What if I give you no? Because I can put my own $15 in Bitcoin if I wanted to. See, I've been this again. My problem is I haven't pushed it hard enough, man. I have a good chunk of money that I could put in the markets right now, but I haven't been doing it. I've been waiting for, you know, a good opportunity. And I probably would have been very happy if I had just put it in a long time ago. But like here on the futures, I think I'm doing it the right way. Like if I had taken as much risk as I had been able to, I probably would have blown the account, right? This way, I'm giving myself the time to sort it out, and it's been working. I've been getting better at it, and because we have a system with real empirical evidence behind it that we can be confident about using, I don't have all of these weird, always used to be there was these little edge cases where it's like, I don't know what to do about this or that because the stats don't tell me. And, is this actually working? There was always that question in the back. In this one, it's like, I can just go, I have the information, I trade on the information that I have, and sometimes you're wrong. And then you deal with it. But I did make the mistake of taking the spread trades when I shouldn't have. I don't know. Andrew. I think that MBO is like really cool, but what we wanted to do with it was we wanted to prove that there was like a real edge to it. I read a research paper from somebody that they had a neural network that traded off of the DOM, and they added MBO data to that neural network, and it performed better. So does that mean that MBO gives a retail trader a really strong edge? No. It does mean that it's giving you something, but how useful it actually would be to us is questionable, especially if we're primarily relying on informational inefficiency. And that's the key thing, is that I would rather put more resources towards generating informational discovering rather informational inefficiencies, and working together as a group to find them. I'm just not sure how we go about doing that. We need to form like a little company or something. I don't know. So because one of the things that we need to do is like, if we have an informational inefficiency, we should be able to backtest it, Should be able to backtest it. And then we get more information about it. Well, I have to think about that. Hey, I've got to get going. But thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by and saying hi, Gary, if you're still there. Yeah, interesting. I have so many mixed feelings today. An interesting day. I really thought that we would go much lower than we did off of that Federal Reserve announcement. The equities market, it was just like everything. But yeah, so here's a good point, Andrew Ryan, is that the study that I was watching, they weren't looking at anything of having to do with the stop run in the native iceberg. I personally doubtful that native iceberg detector would be useful. Because you can already detect icebergs pretty easily, right? But the stop run thing from that you can get with bulk map, it seems like something that would be valuable, and that's what I really wanted to backtest. It's just that like I'm not willing to spend $100 a month on doing it, but maybe I will when I've got some of these other systems a little bit more developed. Thought you were hot. No. I like to keep it small. Like I said, everybody wants to come in and become a millionaire, day trader for a living sort of a thing. And I understand why they think that. I'm just saying it's not really very realistic. And you know what? If you have a career that you're already doing well and you enjoy, and you have the ability to take in risk, and then you can kind of do this as a side thing. And then you can have all of the fun trading without the stress of it, your livelihood depending on it. And I think that's a pretty good deal. Huh? Yeah, nice chatting. What should we call today's, oh yes, Powell. Powell. How can we say this in a funny way? Let's say Biden picks Powell. Yep, you guys have a good day. Looks like this market's going to keep moving around here, so we'll see what happens. Might get something in 30 minutes when the European markets close, right? Anyways, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.